So hello to all D-Life members. Welcome to one more episode of D-Life webinar. So today again we are going to discuss something on lab reports as well as later on open to the general question and answer sessions from all the members as well as those questions and answers which were posted in D-Life. So again we have the knowledgeable Arun Kumar with us, who is going to today speak on the lab parameters and specifically the KFT or kidney function test. So welcome Arun, and I hand over the session to you.
Okay, thank you, Saji. Actually, today's subject is the kidney function test. Rather, more precisely, we can say the kidney assessment test, because we will discuss today. Last time, I think one or two member has told me that why not you discuss the sign and symptoms of the disease. So I will start with the kidney function test with the very brief introduction of the what is kidney, and then we'll go for the sign and symptoms, then factors and everything. So start with the kidney. You all know that we have two kidneys. These two kidneys are reddish brown color and nearly about 12 centimeters in size. And actually, these two kidneys are located in the retroperitoneal space. That is a space just below the liver, and one side it is just below the spleen. So you will also surprised to know that the size of the two kidneys are not equal. The left side kidney is slightly bigger than the right side because of the fact the right side kidney is located just below the liver, and both kidneys are not in a at same level. One, the spleen side kidney is slightly higher than the liver side kidney. This is just a brief about the kidney. Kidney actually is responsible for filtering the blood, as we all know, but how it gets filtered, so we have to discuss in very brief in that. Kidneys have numerous, almost about 1 million nephrons in each kidney. And these nephrons are actually the filtering unit. These nephrons are also considered as the structural and functional unit of the kidney. This nephron is comprised of the glomerulus tube, which is surrounded by the very teeny blood capillaries, which by which the blood and to nephron it is going and coming back. This again, this glomerulus are leading to a Bowman's capsule where the filtered waste product as a urine is accumulated. This is brief about that, so that in future, in coming lines and coming chapter, when I will discuss all this, you should not get confused. Kidney is attached to a ureter which opens in the urinary bladder. And you all know that urinary bladder is a bladder where urine is being deposited and then out through the ureter. Now, kidney function assessment or kidney function test, this includes signs and symptoms and measuring the using urine test and blood test, as well as later on we can also see the kidney function as well as measuring the medical imaging like MRI and all, as well as the USG. What are the, before going to the kidney function test, what are the functions of the kidney? We should just know in brief that kidney actually maintaining the fluid balance of our body. Kidney also balance the acid and base of our blood. Kidney also regulates the electrolytes, including the sodium and potassium and other electrolytes too. Kidney also cleaning the toxins of the blood and regulating the blood pressure. We all know that if there is a problem in the kidney, your blood pressure will go high. As well as kidney also regulating certain hormones like erythropoietin. If you remember in the first webinar, while discussing the CBC, I told you that red blood cells are manufactured or produced by the bone marrow, but it will be manufactured or produced by bone marrow only when the hormone called erythropoietin will go to the bone marrow and just instigate to produce this RBC. This hormone erythropoietin is released by kidney. Kidney is also responsible for activation of the vitamin D. We have vitamin D through sun or through that is vitamin D2, which is inactive form. So kidney will make it the active vitamin D3, which will work in our body. These are the very few functions of the kidney. We should know so that we can kidney function later on we'll discuss. We'll go in details for that. What are the symptoms of the kidney chronic kidney disease, CKD? First is the feeling tired. We always feel tired if you have a CKD. We also feel low in energy, less energy you can say. And CKD also make you having the concentration will be troublesome. You can't concentrate properly if you have a CKD. Then CKD also induce the sleep, trouble in sleep. You cannot sleep properly, and moreover, sleep apnea is also noticed in the CKD. Sleep apnea means when you are sleeping for some time, for few seconds, your respiration will just stop. The cessation of the respiration for temporarily is called sleep apnea. And if you notice that people who are snoring, you will notice that for few seconds their their respiration is stopped, but again it is restored. This sleep apnea is very common with the people having obesity, high, very overweight. This is very common with them. Then CKD also having symptoms of the dry itchy skin. This dry itchy skin due to the accumulation of the waste product in our blood, which is not being properly filtered from the kidney. And main is the your blood urea nitrogen. When blood urea nitrogen is not properly filtered from the kidney, the level of the blood urea nitrogen will go up, and this may cause the itching of your skin. Then CKD also have the frequent urination. You have feel urge to urinate very frequently, and nocturia, the nighttime urination is also very frequent. So it will disturb you in your sleep also. Urine will be foamy. When you urinate, you will just see that your urine is getting foamy. This is because of the albumin leaked in the urine. Those who are taking eggs, they know that albumin, the white portion of the egg is albumin. So if you put in karahi or something where making poach or something, that you will see the foamy. So that foamy is due to the albumin, and same albumin is when leaking in the urine, you'll find foamy in your bathroom. And then there is a persistent puffiness around your eyes. This is due to the protein which is not sufficient in your body but leaked in the urine. These are the symptoms. Sorry, I have to mention one more very important symptom, that is swelling in your lower arms, that is feet and your leg, ankle and feet will notice there is a swelling, because this is due to the sodium retention. Sodium is not properly filtered by urine, and sodium is retained by your body, and you know that sodium retains the water also. So this water accumulated. This question, I think Anup has some questions. Okay, this sodium retains the water, and this water will make you the fluid retention in your body, and you will find this edema in the leg, feet, ankles, etc. Then due to this CKD, you will also have the anorexia. Anorexia terms we used for the loss of appetite. And this due to the imbalance of the electrolytes in your body, you will also feel muscle cramp. These are the signs and symptoms of CKD. But it is also important to note that these signs and symptoms are non-specific. Means these signs and symptoms may be due to some other diseases. For many people, this has been seen that signs and symptoms won't occur unless until the CKD comes to the advanced stage, that is the end stage. So this, even though there is no sign and symptoms, people should go regularly to check their kidney function at least 6 months, at the interval of 6 months. Now, what are the factors which causing this CKD? The most important factor is the diabetes, and we all are diabetes, so we should be very careful about that. Then hypertension, then CVD, cardiovascular diseases, and then obesity, which we are just discussing before this webinar regarding the obesity. Fifth is the smoking, and sixth is the family history of kidney disease. Those who are having family history of kidney disease, they should be very cautious. They should regularly check their kidney function. Then for some people, there is an abnormal kidney structure, which may be the reason for the CKD. And finally, the old age. Old age, old elder people are more vulnerable to the CKD. So they should go regularly to check their kidney function test. Now, causes of the CKD. What are the causes of CKD? As it is diabetes and hypertension are the foremost. Then pyelonephritis. Pyelonephritis means inflammation of the nephrons. So one thing I would like to mention out of this, then whenever you heard a word having the last of the itis, I mean ITIS, this indicates that there is an inflammation. In the medical science, this is ITIS we have added to any organ which is inflamed. So pyelonephritis means recurrent inflammation in the nephrons is called pyelonephritis. Then recurrent infection in kidney. Nephritis we have told, pyelonephritis we have told, recurrent infections also cause the kidney, and this cause the CKD. Prolonged obstruction in the urinary tract, maybe due to the kidney stone, due to the benign prostate hyperplasia, and one more problem, that is a vesicoureteral reflux when urine comes to the kidney from the bladder. This is also caused, but it is rare. And then nephritis, as I told you, it is an inflammation of the nephron. And lastly, cystitis. It is an inflammation of the urinary bladder. Now, what are the complications patient can face with the CKD? Actually, CKD affects almost every part of our body, but potential complications are the fluid retention, leads to swelling of arms and legs, and this fluid retention also causing high blood pressure. Then pulmonary edema. Pulmonary edema means accumulation of the fluid in the lungs. Sudden rise in plasma potassium, that is also called hyperkalemia. This hyperkalemia is sometimes fatal because it may interfere with the cardiac function. Because we all know that heart is work with the electrical impulses, and calcium and potassium are the two things which are causing this electrical impulses. So if potassium level will go high, so calcium channel will be blocked and heart will not work properly. Then this also causing the cardiovascular diseases. Then we have the weak bones if you have a CKD. These weak bones are prone to fractures. And CKD also causing anemia. As I told, anemia because of the if kidney will be not functioning proper, so erythropoietin, the hormones which cause the manufacturing or production of the RBC will be affected and causing the anemia. And erectile dysfunction as well as reduced fertility in women. These are the potential, complications of the CKD. Next comes to the assessment of the kidney function test. Just a few minutes. Now, how can we prevent this CKD? Some of the important points I would like to just discuss. So CKD can be prevented if we take proper care and so that our we cannot have the CKD, I mean chronic kidney function problem. So first is to avoid all NSAID. Knowing or unknowingly, we are taking NSAID whenever we have a pain. So avoid all NSAID. This long term, this will be cause you the CKD. Avoid all PPI. PPI means proton pump inhibitor that doctor used to prescribe you when you have a problem in acidity or gas problem or something like this. So doctor usually prescribe this PPI, proton pump inhibitor, and S2 antagonist. S2 antagonist means histamine 2 antagonist, which also stop the acid production in our stomach. So these two are also causing the CKD. Avoid smoking, then maintain healthy weight. As I told you that obesity is also reason for the CKD, so better to maintain a healthy weight and then control your blood sugar and hypertension, by which you can avoid the CKD. Now, the kidney function test. Actually, this test is with the two blood test and urine test. These two groups we have divided. So first we'll take the blood test. What are the test report will say about your kidney from the blood? Blood test, that is, first is the creatinine. Creatinine is a waste product of our muscle tissue. Whenever you just move your muscle, some creatinine will be produced and come to the serum. Creatine comes to blood creatine whenever you even move your muscle. This creatinine is a waste product and our kidney filters completely. In case of impaired kidney function, creatinine serum level will go high in the serum and which indicates the impaired kidney function. Based on creatinine serum level, lab calculate the EGFR, that is estimated glomerular filtration rate. Now this is the worldwide, this is the gold standard of measuring the kidney function. EGFR estimates function of kidney, more precisely function of the glomeruli, I mean glomerular filtration. As you know, glomeruli are tube-like structures surrounded by tiny capillaries, and in glomeruli, blood gets filtered and waste product of blood deposited in the Bowman's capsule. Glomerulus also absorbs some of the particles of the blood like protein, minerals, etc. In case of the impaired kidney function, creatinine is not filtered properly and remain in blood. So creatinine may rise due to the creatinine may rise due to some other factors also, like strenuous exercise. As I told you, this is a product which is made by the muscles tissue. Whenever you use your muscles, some creatinine will be produced and it will come to the blood. So when you are doing a strenuous exercise, your muscles work hard and there is a creatinine level may go high. Even your kidney function is normal. So sometimes it is, but it is a temporary. And then those people who are using the supplements, creatinine supplement, their creatinine level may go high. Even your kidney function is normal. EGFR is calculated on the basis of the serum creatinine, age, gender, height, and weight. Now, what are the indication of EGFR? That is, if EGFR is above 90, it indicates the very perfect kidney function. If EGFR is 60 to 90, this is the normal kidney function. If EGFR is below 60, it indicates the initial sign of CKD, or it is also called first stage CKD. If EGFR goes below 60, I mean 45 to 60, this is considered as the second stage of CKD. If EGFR goes below that, I mean 30 to 45, that is called third stage of CKD. And when it comes to 15 to 30, this is called fourth stage of CKD. And below 15, it is called end stage kidney disease or renal disease. That is also called the fifth stage CKD. In fifth stage CKD, normally patient won't have to go to dialysis or kidney transplant. For the normal males, adult male, the creatinine level, normal creatinine level is in between 0.9 to 1.4 for male. For female, it is 0.8 to 1.2. But you have to take factors I have discussed earlier. If the person is doing exercise, strenuous exercise, or if he is taking the creatinine supplement, there may be slight higher creatinine will be there. Now, second blood test will also indicate, that is blood urea nitrogen. It is metabolite of protein and need to be filtered by kidney. Rise in blood urea nitrogen may cause itching and difficulty in concentrating, because when blood urea nitrogen rises in the blood, it will also affect your central nervous system. So you will feel difficult in concentrating, and it will also produce some itching on your skin. Normal range of the blood urea nitrogen is 7 to 20. I just told you, I just wanted to again remind you that, okay, I will come to that, Sasi. Cysteine C you are asking, no? Hello, Sasi? Yeah, okay. I have noted that.
Arun Kumar, later. I just parked the question.
Actually, this is here in the context of the creatinine, because nowadays some of the school of thoughts is that creatinine level sometimes is misleading because of this strenuous exercise, or patient is one more thing, because suppose a patient is having very low weight, because weight is also an important factor when you are measuring the EGFR. So creatinine level will go high. Low weight, suppose a 70 years old lady having no muscles at all. So their creatinine level will not give you the right determination of the right indication of the EGFR. So that is the misleading. So now some of the doctors of the world now, this is the very latest, I mean, 4 or 5 years back, it is thought that cystatin C will not misguide you, and considering the cystatin C is better than the creatinine level. So that's what there is a difference. Otherwise, there is no difference. And for normal people, there is no difference. But for taking the weight when you account, sometimes the EGFR will be misleading. So if person don't have the CKD, it will be coming as a CKD, report will say the CKD, but sometimes person is having CKD and the creatinine level will be low because the weight is low, because muscle mass is very low. So in that case, it will be misleading. This is the thought of the, but still the creatinine level is the gold standard of world over to measure the, I mean, chronic disease, chronic kidney disease. So that is the cystatin C. If you, I can, this is sufficient, Sasi? Sasi, are you hearing me?
I thought I'll address this later. If you want to address about.
Okay, sure. No. I'm just giving you a brief of that.
Yeah. What exactly is cystatin C?
Since I'm discussing creatinine level, so creatinine and cystatin C is linked here. I mean, as per the measuring of the CKD is concerned. So that's why I have mentioned it. But I have not taken it deliberately here, the cystatin C, because some of our participants may get confused. So that's why. Okay, I will, let alone if you want, you can take it, the cystatin C, no problem. The next is the urine test. Sorry, normal range of the blood urea nitrogen, that is also called BUN, is 7 to 20. Once again, I'll have to mention here that different lab having the different parameters. So go with the lab's parameter, that is better. because slightly different is there due to the use of the reagent and the method they are using for measuring this. Any I mean, even creatinine level or even for the bun. Now, I have already covered it. Now I am covering the urine test. Next, sorry, urine test. That is, the normal kidney will not allow any protein to be leaked in the urine. Urine test measures the protein, or more precisely albumin or globulin. That you know, the globulin and albumin are two proteins we are having in our blood. Globulin is mainly connected with our immune system. It related with the immune system, while albumin is the abundant protein in our plasma. So this for healthy kidney will not allow any protein to be leaked in the urine. Now some labs are, now it is old thought, but microalbumin measurement is also considered, and doctors sometimes is still prescribing for that. Though now it is no microalbumin, now all are considered as albumin. Microalbumin are also teeny particles of the this albumin, which may leak to urine very little quantity. That is called microalbumin. This indicates a sign, early sign of the CKD. If it is go beyond the range, it will indicate all the early sign of the CKD. So if you are going for the microalbumin test, it will also give you some indication to whether the CKD is started or not. The normal range of the microalbumin is less than 30 milligram per 100 ml. It indicates proper function of the kidney. If it is a less than 30 milligram. If it is in between 30 to 300 milligram, it will be considered the early sign of the CKD. And above 300, it will be considered as the advanced state of the CKD. In case of infection or injury in urinary tract, urine may show RBC, pus cells, and leukocytes. These all covered in the routine urine test. Doctors are also prescribing the physical examination and routine urine test. This comes under that. So in the routine urine test, lab also give the figure of the RBC, pus cells, and leukocytes. This indicates if there is any infections or injury in the urinary tract. Like suppose you have a kidney stone. So kidney stone, if it is due to the calcium oxalate. So calcium oxalate are the, by nature, they are the having the sharp edges in the surrounding of the crystal. So that may damage your ureter or damage your urinary bladder. So pus cells, leukocytes, and RBC may show in the in your urine. pH value of the urine also determines whether urine is acidic or alkaline. Abnormal pH may be the sign of urinary tract. We all know, I think it is better to mention here that our urine pH is somewhere around 6. So slightly acidic, but not more. If it is go below 6 or above 7, so that indicates some problem in your urinary tract. Maybe the infections, maybe some injury. Then nitrites are also being measured by the lab in your urine. So nitrites are the metabolites of the WBC. So if there is a nitrites find in the urine, it indicates there is some urinary tract infection, which is the metabolite of WBC. That is why it is found in the urine. Blood urine also sometimes, blood in urine may be the sign of your kidney stone. As I told you, kidney stones damage the ureter or urinary bladder. So there may be some blood in your urine you will find. So even if your naked eye, you will see urine will be slightly reddish. And this also indicates there is some kidney damage or blood disorder. Sometimes in the urine, physical examination of the urine, sometimes lab will also find some crystals, that is the microcrystals in your urine. That also indicates there is a kidney stone in there. I think this is something about, I have told you in nutshell, what is the kidney function test. Now, actually, just some of the questions were posted on the forum regarding Sasi. This is all about the kidney function test.
Yeah.
Some questions were posted on the forum.
So I'm just telling that high calcium in kidney 10.4. What does it mean?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. I think
Yeah.
just a minute. Before going to the, I think I want to give some uh, brief details about details about the hypercalcemia, that is the calcium in the blood. What is that? Why it is? What are the symptoms? And what to do to combat it? And to how far this high calcium will cause you the problem, like calcium stone or something like this. But one thing is 10.4 is calcium in blood is not the hypercalcemia as in medically it is told. So many of times this calcium is rise in calcium because most of the labs are having a 10.3. First thing, it is a male or female? No, Sasi, the case of
Female.
female. So female, so it is slightly higher, but it is, I have also, I don't know, I don't remember whether I have written you on forum or not. After 1 month, better you check it again. If it is temporarily, then next month you will find that this is the normal calcium level will come. But due to some problems, if it is there, then you have to uh, take care of that, and I will tell you some things about that. So would you like to go details about the hypercalcemia? Anybody? Sasi?
No, मुझे ज़्यादा knowledge नहीं है इसमें.
Maybe. Can I say something about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
So let us have a very brief look of the hypercalcemia and how it affects the kidney stone. Hypercalcemia, you all know this is the what is or when the level of the calcium in our blood is uh, higher than the margin, I mean the range, then it is called as a hypercalcemia. So symptoms of the hypercalcemia, you can also see that it will increase thirst. I mean, you will say very thirsty. It is also increased in urination, some abdominal pain, nausea, fatigue, and bone pain. Hypercalcemia is the result of overactive parathyroid gland. There are 4 parathyroid glands which is just located behind your thyroid gland. This is maybe due to the overactive parathyroid gland. Maybe due to the calcium supplement or vitamin D supplement if you are taking. So chances are there your hypercalcemia is there. Common cause of hypercalcemia is dehydration. The first and foremost is dehydration. People who are drinking water or fluid taking less in quantity may be the reason for the hypercalcemia. So I suggest to all those who are having the hypercalcemia, first measure to take that at least 8 to 10 glass of water, 8 to 10 glass of water he should consume within a day. Or you can precisely say the 4 liters of water. Then it will take care of that. Certain drugs also increase the action of parathyroid gland, so it will release the parathyroid hormones, which is causative for the hypercalcemia. If bones continue, you all know one fact that calcium in our body, total calcium in the body, only 1% lies in the blood and 99% in the bone and teeth. So when there is our thyroid gland, parathyroid gland senses that says there is some shortage of the calcium in the blood, so they will take the calcium from the bone. So as a result, what happens? Bone will be having low calcium, and that is condition as called is osteoporosis. So in hypercalcemia, chances of osteoporosis are there. In hypercalcemia, kidneys stone might be there. But one thing I'd like to clear here, Anjali, are you listening me? Hello, Anjali, are you listening me? Oh, okay.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
What I'm telling you, because you have a question for that, that Calcium is, of course, there is a calcium stone in the urine, I mean kidney, I mean ureter. The kidney stone is, most common kidney stones are the calcium oxalate. But the very important thing here, kidney stone will be formed only when there is a calcium and there is a oxalate. Otherwise, that kidney stone won't form. So those people who are taking this calcium supplement are having the greater chance of having kidney stone because oxalate is there with our food. So this calcium will leak to the urine, oxalate will leak to the urine, and in the urine, the calcium and oxalate will bind and make the salt called calcium oxalate. But the very important thing here to be noted that those who are taking the calcium rich food will not have the kidney stone. Rather, calcium rich food will prevent the kidney stone. How I am telling you, those who are taking the calcium rich food and citrates, always we are taking in our food a lot of citrates. This citrate is binding with calcium in the gut and make a complex calcium complex which is soluble in the water, and it comes through the urine, through the intestine and then blood and then to the urine. This calcium ion complex, it will not create any of the kidney stone. So this kidney stone will not form if there is a oxalate, if there is a citric acid or citrate is there in our blood or in our urine. So this kidney citrate will deter the calcium to make stone along with the oxalate. You understand, Anjali?
To some
Am I clear?
extent, Arun. See,
No,
okay.
it's a very simple. It's a very simple. Calcium will form the kidney stone only when there is oxalate present in the urine. Okay. And if there is a citrate in our body, in our food, in our blood serum, there is citrate. Citrate will not allow calcium to bind with the oxalate. Very simple.
Okay.
So if you take magnesium citrate or potassium citrate as a supplement, this will not allow calcium to bind with the oxalate. So no kidney stone will be formed. Otherwise, if you are taking the citric food, citrus fruits, or citric rich food, then there is a chances of kidney stones are very low. So I suggest that people who are taking the lemon water or something like that, that is a good. Or else magnesium citrate is also very good supplement we all are taking. So magnesium citrate will deter the calcium to bind with the oxalate. So that's why I'm coming. When you are taking the calcium-rich food, not supplement, calcium-rich food, that inhibits the kidney stone. How? Because it will not bind with the oxalate, and there is no formation of the kidney stone. So far, I think, clear, Anjali. Or
Yes.
anybody else have any question?
So how different, Arun? How different is a calcium supplement versus food? Calcium from food.
Yeah,
How
because
differently?
when you are taking calcium supplement, you are not taking the citric acid or citrate, right? You are not taking citric or citric acid or citrate. But oxalate we are taking with a different other medium,
Foods.
food or air. So oxalate is present in our gut. Calcium is coming from the supplement, and both are absorbed in the blood and goes to the urine. And binding of this calcium and oxalate happens in the urine, occurs in the urine. It is not
Okay.
in the blood, not in the gut. So binding will be occurs only in the urine. Otherwise, that's why the stone is formed in the urinary tract, mainly in the ureter or in the bladder, or sometimes in the urethra. So that is there. But if you take the calcium supplement, then oxalate will be there in the gut. So calcium oxalate stone will be formed. But if you are taking calcium rich food, so in food, all the calcium rich food, like whatever you name, they have the citric acid also. So that inhibits the binding of the calcium with the oxalate.
Got it. I'll just give you a slight reason why I raised this question, because when I was working with a client, it was quite a while ago before I understood all of this background. So when I was working with one of my clients, he had a history of kidney stone, and that was like some 8-10 years before we started. So because I would encourage him to have paneer and cheese and chicken and all of that. What happened was over after a month or so, he started complaining of similar kidney stone wala pain. तो इसीलिए I was a little wondering कैसे, because paneer
नहीं,
cheese
so you
पूरा
can,
calcium है, तो I was wondering how that causes.
no, I told you only calcium will not do, but oxalate is there in our gut, or with the different food we are getting the oxalate. So that binding is possible. But if you can prescribe along with that any citrate supplement like magnesium citrate, potassium citrate, or say citrate rich food, all the citrate food, citrus food are having. So
Okay.
then stone problem will not be there.
Will not come. Okay,
So
got it.
even simply you can prescribe magnesium citrate आप ले लो. It will be, this will not going to form the kidney stone in the urinary tract.
Or
Right?
in case supplement is not there, then I can say any citrus rich food, जैसे कि lemon juice हो गया, ACV हो गया.
Lemon is the most safe.
Okay.
Because in
Okay.
other citrus food we may have the high level of the fructose, which is also the precursor of the kidney stone. I'm coming to later on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Got it.
So this is all about this hypercalcemia, but some of the other problems are also there with the hypercalcemia. That is not only it is forming the kidney stone, but it is also damaging the kidney. This may be the cause of the chronic kidney disease, acute kidney disease. Because so far we have discussed chronic kidney disease. There is an acute kidney injury that may be due to the hypercalcemia. Then it will also affect our nervous system, and because high rise in the calcium in the blood, this causes the confusion, dementia, and even it goes to the coma. Then it will cause the abnormal heartbeat, because when blood calcium will go high, it will disturb the rhythm of the heart. You all know our heart is working with a rhythm, and this is due to the electrical impulses. So these electrical impulses will be irregular and rhythm will be irregular. That condition is called arrhythmia. Then if you want, Anjali, I can give you some other regions of the kidney stone also. This is not only the calcium oxalate kidney stone, but there is some other kidney stones are also there, which may be the region for this. One of them is uric acid stone.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I want important point I have just forget to mention you, that kidney stone formed because of the most important factor is the dehydration. That dehydration means low intake of the water or fluid. That is the reason for the supersaturation of the urine calcium. So calcium level in urine will be high, oxalate level in the urine will be high. This is due to the dehydration. If a person can take a lot of water, say 8 to 10 glasses of water in a day, then there is chance of kidney stone will be very low. Then some of the obesity is also very linked with the hyperparathyroidism, that is the overacting of the PTH. That is also rise the calcium level in the blood. So then kidney stone, if you want to avoid, then you have to give advice to your patient that he should take low sugar, fructose, and high fructose corn syrup should be completely stopped. This is also reason for the kidney stone. Consumption of fruit juices also increase the uric acid secretion, which is also elevate the urinary oxalate. This uric acid, if goes high in the blood, it will release to the urine, and this will trigger the higher urinary oxalate level. And when higher urinary oxalate level, then it will bind with the calcium and make a kidney stone.
Got it.
Okay, so
the other question is, if high protein in urine, 2.7 as a part of 24-hour urine test, is it very high?
I'm coming. Yes, undoubtedly very high. I'm coming to that. Just a minute. Give me 1 minute, please. Actually, questions I have noted, but I won't find where it is noted. Just a minute. See, normally, Sasi, our healthy kidney will not allow any protein to be leaked in the blood. And as I mentioned you, that for 24 hours protein, measurement of the 24 hours urine protein, because if you taking the patient's 24-hour samples of urine, then if you take it, so more than 2 gram it is found, then it is the uh, chances of the chronic kidney disease. So in that case, 4 is the quite high. 4 is the quite high, and I think that patient or that man should immediately go for the
2.7,
doctor.
Arun. 2.7. 2.7.
So 2.7 is still it is too high. Not it is still it is high because it is mentioned that above 2, if it is 20, it is 24-hour urine collection sample.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, then
Like
it is
random sample did not show anything, but the 24-hour thing showed up
see,
2.7.
I'm just giving you one clue how to take the 24-hour urine sample, because I don't know whether lab is doing right or wrong. Because in that case, if you're going for the 24 hours urine sample you are giving, or even for the creatinine or even for the protein, so right way is to first in morning, first urination should be completely go in the washroom. Then after you start collecting your urine in a container, till next morning when you wake up, also you pee entire urine in that container, and that should be given to the lab for the testing. But sometimes labs are not following this. So in that case, okay.
Arun, this was done in the hospital, so it was not a. It was part of a hospital treatment for
So
someone.
it was part of the
So
hospital. They should do it.
yeah, part of. Yeah.
But actually, 2.7 even, though it is 2 gram, up to 2 gram is normal. We are telling normal range is up to 2 gram. But uh, above that is the sign of the chronic kidney disease. You should go for the screening of the, first is the medical imaging, size of the kidney, function of the kidney, and then he should also go for the EGFR. You know what is the EGFR of that patient?
Uh, no, the recent test we were not able to do it.
Because
So maybe.
EGFR will also indicate the same. I think in that case, it should be somewhere around 60 or something. Because if it is 2.7 is there.
Okay.
See, 2.2 gram is allowed maximum. So random, some instant sample lete hain, when you are taking the sudden instant sample of urine we are testing, it may not show that, because that albumin is level is going up and down in 24 hours time. So if you're taking an instant, it may not show. But in that case,
Okay.
if lab is testing for the microalbumin, it will show. It will show what extent. As I told you, if it is less than 30 milligram per 100 ml, then it's a normal, considered normal. But if it go beyond 30 to above, then it is some early sign of chronic kidney disease is there. So
Okay.
better you again see that if you are able to see that patient, ask for the EGFR value. That will also confirm the kidney disease, if there is kidney disease or not. And mainly it is glomerular filtration problem, the problem with the nephrons. So that is somehow needs a very doctor's treatment or hospitalization may need, because in that case normally doctors prescribing ACE inhibitor or angiotensin receptor blocker inhibitors. These are the two treatments only available for the kidney disease treatment. So you can
So,
easily say EGFR will confirm, one will also confirm.
okay.
So that these are the things you can get confirmed.
Okay. The only thing is this particular person is under quite a bit of a treatment, and they've been having an issue for quite a while. They want to check what kind of foods to kind of avoid, or what will help to not progress any further, to not make it worse. LCHF
First
is
thing
not
is
very
no.
possible.
First thing
LCHF is not possible. So to manage with regular food and a diet approach.
No, first thing is that, he has to avoid all this. I have told you preventions that
Yeah.
if he is obese, obesity is
Mm.
linked with the CKD. If he is
Yes.
obese, so he should control his weight. If he
Mm.
has hypertension, so the blood pressure number should be normalized.
Normalize.
If
Got
he is
it.
having the blood sugar, so blood sugar number should be normalized. I mean,
Mm.
controlled sugar levels should be there.
Mm. Mm.
And then avoiding all sort of NSAID, because even doctors are prescribing NSAID. What to do, talk to others. Doctors
Mm.
are prescribing NSAID, and they are not knowing that what consequences it will go to the patient. Then
Mm.
avoid all sort of the proton pump inhibitors like pantoprazole, omeprazole, and 3, 4 more prazole are there. Then you have to stop all the S2 antagonists, that cimetidine, famotidine, etc., etc. These are all causing, in long term, these are all causing the chronic kidney diseases. I mentioned many times in the forum also that this drug should not be taken in any case.
Mm.
So even if you have a reflux esophagitis or problem with your gas or problem with your stomach, hyperacidity and all, go for the conventional treatment. Like even if you go for the medicine, you can go for the aluminum hydroxide gel and all, but don't go for this all. These are the latest, but they are causing a lot of problem. These are the
Okay.
prevention you can take for further deterioration of the problem. And
Okay. Okay.
obesity, blood sugar, and hypertension
Mm.
must be controlled at any cost.
Okay. Okay. Got
And
it.
sugar should not be fructose or fructose containing product should not be given to you in any case.
Okay. So absolutely no, even normal quantities of fruit, very small quantity of fruit is also absolute no.
No, fruit you can give. I say
Huh.
I'm taking a high quantity of fructose. Suppose if you are giving
No.
the fruits like this cucumber or something like this, they
Huh.
have a low fructose level.
Okay.
Even actually fructose are available in all vegetables also.
Hmm.
Any almost all vegetables are
No, no,
having.
fructose in terms of, let's say, maybe is it in a very
Ah,
small piece of banana or a
no,
pomegranate?
banana I will not allow
Advice at
anything
all. Okay.
because this is not good. But you can give some cucumber, avocado, some of
Ah,
the low
no
fructose
fructose.
level are there
Got it.
in the
Got it.
fruits that can be given to them.
Okay.
That can be given.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it.
So
Nice.
I have a question
Question
from
from
Anup Singh. Hello, are you hearing Anup? Hello.
अनूप सिंह का क्वेश्चन है जेनरिक
That I'm coming. I have taken that. See, calcium level. He is having the will Mg supplementation help in getting the calcium down. It is said that magnesium reduces calcium leaching from the bones. That is correct. I'm telling here. I'm telling you the calcium level will be reduced if the Mg supplement is there. But one thing the Anup Singh was also taking earlier, so far I remember, magnesium citrate is more beneficial here. Although the absorption of calcium citrate is less than the magnesium glycinate, so magnesium citrate will be better option to reduce not only reduce the calcium level from the blood, but also to prevent any kidney stone in the area. That is the benefit with the magnesium citrate. I just told you that citrates you can give to reduce the chances of the kidney stones, but magnesium supplement itself is very good for reducing the calcium here, because this will not allow a bone to leak the calcium in the blood. But if it is the overactive parathyroid gland, then treatment should be given for parathyroid gland. Then magnesium will not do anything, because PTH, a problem that PTH is regulated by the brain through pituitary gland. So if there is a malfunction of the pituitary gland, then the pituitary gland will give the wrong signal to PTH. Then PTH will be released more and more. If more PTH will release, then that is a cycle. Then more bone will release the calcium in the blood. So this cycle is going on. So magnesium is, of course, for normal condition, magnesium is good to prevent the calcium level high in the blood. Any other questions, sir?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay,
I think
anybody?
that's the question which is posted now. Any of the participants here wants to ask anything on any subject, they can ask.
Or else, I think
think that
Anup has one question regarding the uric acid. I'm not clear what he
Yeah.
want to know from the about the uric acid. But if he has the question in hand, he can just repeat the question.
is it my question, sir?
Actually, in forum, I'm not able to remember correctly, but in forum, somebody is asking about the uric acid. It was maybe from Anjali or something. I don't
Yeah,
remember that.
that was,
Is there
yeah,
any question
that
regarding
was
uric acid?
Jasmeet. Yes, sir. Uric acid reasons for high and care to take in that case.
Uh-huh.
Thus, transitioning to low carb keto cause UA to increase initially.
Actually, this is the one report I study. I have read a few days back. That is report was old report. In 2012, a study was done, and in that study, it is mentioned that if person is going for keto, so for initial few days or few weeks, there will be high uric acid level till body adapted fully to the keto food. I mean keto habits. The body is adapted to the keto. So in that case, uric acid level will be high. Second is uric acid will be also high temporarily. These are all temporarily phase. Temporarily when person is losing weight and person is having the having the fasting slot of fasting. I'm not talking about the intermittent fasting, but also for the long fasting, say 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, that is continuing, then the uric acid level will go high. That is all are the temporary. First is the keto, second is the losing weight, third is the fasting. These are the temporarily increase the uric acid level.
Yeah,
Am I clear, sir?
let me also clarify on this why it increases on keto. The issue is there is a competitive inhibition, or there is a competition between both uric acid as well as
Correct.
ketone to get
Yeah.
excreted in urine. Now, in
Yeah.
the initial phase, when we are not fat adapted, the amount of ketone used is very less. So most of them will be excreted unutilized in the urine. So there's going to be a competition, and in this competition, usually ketone wins. So ketone is thrown out first, and then uric acid becomes the second priority. Hence, in some people, this can be an issue. So the best way is to drink a lot of water, have apple cider vinegar. These are something that can, or lemon juice. This can something that can offset this initial phase. When the person becomes fat adapted and uses the ketone optimally or very well, so then there is no issue. Then there is an adequate excretion of uric acid, and then serum uric acid will come down.
Yeah, in that study, I remember that case study was telling about 6 weeks time to adapt to the fat keto, your body. Till after that, uric acid level will slowly it will down. That's correct. Thank you, Sasi. Any other questions, sir, on uric acid?
Or anything.
I
Anything
know
on-
one more question. I'm not able to read that.
Yeah.
Does alcohol damage a healthy kidney? So I think
There's
alcohol.
one more from,
Pardon?
yeah,
This
there's
is
Does
one more from
alcohol damage
Jasmeet.
healthy kidney? 1 to 2 units a day. Acha, from Bhaskar Bhai.
Acha,
Bhaskar,
acha.
okay. Does
Oh,
alcohol damage
1
kidney?
to 2 unit. See, this is very. I am not able to answer this correctly because I never took the alcohol, so I'm not able to do. But alcohol certainly going to damage every part of your body. Maybe small or maybe higher. That depends from person to person. For you, 1 to 2 unit may be the low. For somebody, 1 to 2 unit is also very high. So not only it will damage the other organs, simultaneously it will also damage the kidney. How? Because once it damages your liver, then as you know, this alcohol is processed in the liver, metabolized in the liver. So liver is the first target of the alcohol. When it is damage the liver, so consequences other blood urea, nitrogen, uric acid, everything will go high in the blood. And if this will go high in the blood, it will have a load on the kidney. And if it will load on the kidney, so kidney will be gradually it will going to be damaged or going to have a leading to the chronic kidney disease. So that is how I think alcohol will also damage. So better to avoid alcohol if it is not very essential.
That's
So, am I clear, sir?
हाँ हाँ ठीक है भास्कर सर भास्कर like to have one or two. It is okay.
I don't know. 1 or 2 minutes, how much? It is 100 ml, 50 ml, or more than that.
ठीक है ठीक है let him
और
enjoy.
वो किसी का पटियाला पेग होता है ना,
हाँ
that is a too big.
चलो ठीक
Anyway.
है. Does vitamin K2 help? Now vitamin K2 if this is taken in conjunction with, let us say, vitamin D, it is okay. A lot of formulations are available, vitamin D and K2 together. Alone K2 may not be of much use. So if it is with vitamin D, yeah, it can be taken. Otherwise, there is no need to actually take.
And one more question: low urine pressure issue in emptying bladder.
Symptom of kidney dysfunction.
Yeah.
It is more of, I think.
I told you.
Yeah.
This is here. It is a question of cystitis. Cystitis is the term we use for the inflammation of the bladder. What happens when you have a continuous pressure in the urinary bladder? Like if you retain your urination for long hours, say 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. Sometimes I have seen it is for 10 hours also. So it will exert a unnecessary pressure on the bladder. And if unnecessary pressure in the bladder wall will be inflamed. That condition is called cystitis. So this will actually not only damage your kidney, but it will also have the damage your bladder. And that is the reason for the low urine pressure. So when bladder wall will be thick, so the elasticity of the bladder will be reduced. If it is reduced, then naturally the urine flow will be reduced. Second reason is for that is the, as I told you, benign prostate hyperplasia. Prostate is a small gland which all male people are having. Due to the age is a major factor here. So due to the age, gradually it get inflamed. And right word is not inflamed, but actually some tissues get developed, tissues grows on the prostate gland, and that condition is called prostate hyperplasia. Benign because it is not malignant or cancerous, so it is called benign prostate hyperplasia. This benign prostate hyperplasia will actually have a hindrance in the urine flow, and flow will be reduced. That is the reason for that. If it is the and it is also associated with the cystitis, that is the inflammation of the bladder, then urine flow will be low, not only low, but urination will be sometimes difficult. You will have to start late, then some stop, then again start, then stop, and at the end maybe some dribbling is there. So these are the symptoms of the benign prostate hyperplasia or cystitis, or this is going to lead for the chronic kidney diseases. Bhaskar, I am clear. Bhaskar, are you hearing?
This was a question from Kulkarni.
So, sorry. Kulkarni, I am clear. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Am I clear?
Yes, I am clear.
Okay. Any other questions, sir?
Hanji, just one question, Arunji.
Uh-huh.
So there was this relative of mine who suddenly got admitted to the hospital with a kidney issue. I mean, there was a lot of fluid accumulation and a lot of problem. But 3-4 months before, when they did a check, there was nothing prominent that sprung out indicating something. Now the doctor has said that he has to undergo a regular dialysis. Kidney ka size bahut chota ho gaya, and he has to undergo a dialysis. He is 70. So is it something that can crop up like that without any warning?
Yes, I told you. When I was telling you about this sign and symptoms, na. Last I have added one thing. These sign and symptoms are sometimes comes to the patient, in some patient, till not coming to the patient till it comes to the advanced stage. For many patients, no sign and symptoms, but when it comes to the advanced stage, then sign and symptoms will come. At that time, only transplantation or dialysis is for some patients. Reason nobody knows why it is, but these sign and symptoms are not necessarily that every patient is having the sign and symptom. You may
Okay.
have, you may not have.
Okay. Okay. So then ideally it should be above, as you grow older, 60 and above, do a routine,
Not
regular.
only in Anjali, it is just I mean some misnomer that only after 60 you should go. I think those who are diabetes, hypertension,
No,
any metabolic disorder.
apart from metabolic disorder, I understand metabolic
Apart from
disorder.
metabolic disorder, also in my view, it should be go after 50. Everybody should go at least once in 6 months. At least once in 6 months,
Okay.
if not that.
Okay.
But many companies who are working in the company, their company is also providing some annual health checkup and all. So that in that time, I have seen many of the members who come across about the diabetes when they go for the company annual checkup. But otherwise, also one should go for the health checkup for 3 months, once in a 3 months, to see the
Okay.
progress, and so that if there is an early sign of kidney disease, you can start treatment there only.
Got it. Got it.
I think in today's context, once everyone crosses 30 itself, we should have at least one good annual checkup.
Good
Because
annual
now
checkup.
people have heart attack at 30, diabetes at 30.
Very good. Very good. Yes. Yes.
Any other questions, sir? No question.
I think that's all.
Sir,
uh,
just one point. This is not a question as such, but can we touch upon UTI and its impact on kidney?
Yeah, actually, I'm just coming to that. Sorry. Actually, I have during while giving the complications of the CKD, I have mentioned one point, that is recurrent urinary tract infections also causing the chronic kidney disease, but that may also cause the acute kidney injury. Both the terms are acute kidney injury is the terms we are using, or medically it is used when there is certain damage to the kidney. So in case of the UTI, now it depends on the what bacteria is causing UTI. For my knowledge, there is one bacteria which is very notorious in urinary tract infection, that is Pseudomonas aeruginosa, is very difficult to treat. So I have seen patients are having taking treatment for 1 year, 2 years, but again the bacteria get resistant to those antibiotics, and as a consequences, there is a chance of damaging the kidney, particularly the nephrons, because this slowly bacteria will go up and damage the kidney tissues also. Yes, there is a full chance that there is a damage to the kidney if there is a recurrent urinary tract infection. Hello, Anu?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but this problem is more common in the women's. नॉट मेल में भी होता है यूरिनरी ट्रैक्ट इन्फेक्शन, लेकिन मेल में होने के बाद जल्दी ठीक हो जाता है, बट इन वुमेन दिस प्रॉब्लम क्रॉप अप वेरी रेगुलरली, particularly those women their hygiene is not good, so that's why it's important to maintain proper hygiene so that urinary tract infection should be washed out.
And UTI is also common for diabetics?
Yes,
Very much.
because see, in diabetes, your all organs are very prone to the different infections or inflammation. Most of your organs, and urinary tract is one of them. Because when you have a UTI, when you have a diabetes, it is bound to affect your peripheral nerves, and these peripheral nerves are controlling all the functions. So these peripheral nerves are also in the chronic kidney also. In all the renal nerves are connected to that. So if there is a urinary tract infection, if you want to, because our body is also having some immune system. So if there is a urinary tract infection minor, particularly it is the one infection is very common. I mean, even the common man knows the name, that is Escherichia coli. Escherichia coli is very common urinary tract infection, and that is actually treated with our immune system too, because Escherichia coli is living in our gut, and sometimes it goes to the urinary tract and causing the infection. Till it is in gut, there is no problem with the Escherichia coli. So Escherichia coli is very common bacteria, and our body know how to fight it. So that is sometimes we have it and automatically without taking any treatment, it goes away. But if you are not maintaining the proper hygiene, it may, Escherichia coli infection may cause the infection of other bacteria also, which may be more harmful. Like I have just named Pseudomonas aeruginosa, as well as some other bacteria also, Proteus mirabilis and others. They are causing the recurrent urinary tract infection. And if there is a recurrent urinary tract infection, this is bound to damage your kidney. Am I clear, Anu?
Yeah, got it.
Yes, sir. Any other question?
I would like to add one point. Yeah, I would like to add one point here. This UTI and SGLT2I drugs. I think both you and Shashi can cover on this.
Actually, SGLT2 drugs is a very new drug. I think Sasi has given some study also on the forum.
Yeah.
SGLT2 drugs. So actually it is been mentioned that if you are taking this, actually nothing details I know, but only one thing I know, that it stops the reabsorption of the sugar from the glomerulus filter. When the kidney filters the blood, so sugar of the blood is also get filtered. But then again, kidney will reabsorb the sugar and put it in the blood. So SGL2, I think, inhibits that reabsorption of the sugar from the kidney, and it will go away along with the urine. So that's what the mode of action is so far I know. But I think more details, if you want, Sasi has read a lot about SGLT.
See, it's actually a new wonder class of drug. I mean, it is really doing wonders. And if you really say genuinely, it's a good drug because it throws away the additional sugar which is there in the blood. Though it can cause a lot of adverse effect. Now, SGLT1 and SGLT2. SGLT1 is somewhere in the gut and SGLT2 is there in the kidney. So there are new drugs coming which is going to have action of SGLT1 also. So as of now, we have SGLT2. So it's a normal physiological process of reabsorption of sugar from the urine. So what this does is it only prevents the reabsorption and throws away the sugar. Now issue is in the bladder, if there is excess sugar, obviously there's going to be, it's going to attract some pathogens, some microbes, and it's going to cause infection. So there is a necessity that we cannot hold on urine for much long time. You know, at the moment urination comes, you have to go and urine. Otherwise, if a lot of urine is held on, and especially for people who are traveling, then the risk of infection goes up. So obviously more sugar in there, if there is there in the bladder, and if it is not frequently emptied, there's a risk of bladder cancer also.
One more point, Sasi, here, that
Yeah.
if it is, sugar is present in the bladder for continuous longer period, the pH of urine will be affected. And when pH of urine will be affected, the chances of the infection is very high. Because infection, we got the infection every day. It is not that bladder we not getting the infection, but the pH of urine is such now that will kill the bacteria. But if pH will be disturbed, then bacteria will come and then infection will start. So that is SGL2. I think Sasi has posted. I thank Sasi for that SGLT2 study. I read about that study. So this much
See, I have hell lot of studies. Most of them I don't post here because I send those studies to doctors. But there are so many studies. But for us in the low carb community, what we need to know is why this adverse effect happens. And then the other thing is SGLT2 also releases ketones. Now, this is not discussed much by the mainstream doctors. First of all, I say that 90% of the doctors know nothing about this, and rest of that 5-10% may not understand the practical implication. 1 or 2% will know, but they will hide this. These ketones, that is said to be a super fuel for all the end organs, heart, kidney, brain, and hence, especially in heart failure, when these ketones are released. So SGLT2 is found to be an excellent drug in relieving heart failure. In fact, now there's a new indication it can be recommended for all heart failure patients without diabetes. So
that recent study I have also seen.
Yeah,
that
it's a new approval.
Heart
It's an
patient.
approval. US FDA has approved this. So now in our circle, we say that now this drug has become more of a drug for cardiologists than a diabetologist. So, but you know, we know that the same action is offered by low carb diet. It also low carb ketogenic diet also releases ketone. It also reduces blood sugar, everything. The action is just similar. In fact, both low carb keto and SGLT2 paradoxically, as it's sent by mainstream, increases LDL cholesterol. Okay, this is again, they don't discuss. SGLT2 increases LDL and low carb also increases LDL. But this increases only those large fluffy LDL, not the small dense LDL, which people don't measure. So by far outside, it is a wonderful drug and it is giving very good results for many of the patients. In fact, many of the some doctors I know, they prefer to use, like Dr. Vijay Raghavan in South. He prefers to use low carb as well as SGLT2, though it is contraindicated because there could be an unregulated ketonemia and patient can land in ketoacidosis. This is again one of the adverse effect of SGLT2 in some patients. It can raise the ketone level so much that they can go into ketoacidosis. So this is one more risk which many people do not know. And any one of us here, especially Anjali, if you're treating any diabetic patient on a low carb ketogenic diet, the first drug that should go off is SGLT2 inhibitor. So there should be wash off period of 2-3 days, at least minimum 2-3-4 days before we start this treatment.
Actually 7 days, I think, Sasi.
ठीक है, but okay, 2-3 days में हो जाता है. It is the effect doesn't remain much. I prefer that even if you have 2-3 days, okay, perfectly fine. I mean, there are no drug-to-drug interaction. And even if we start a low carb ketogenic diet, to get the ketone level itself is going to take another 1 to 2 weeks. So better. So it will wash off. So this is how the drug is. So maybe we can have one separate session once again on totally.
Did you send or did you share any list of this SGLT2 drugs? Somewhere I remember when we were talking, you shared.
I had actually sent to you, if you recall, in one of the earlier discussions we had on this. Maybe we'll send to you again. There is no issue.
Okay.
All the gliflozin. Any patient has any medication. So I suggest you Google it. Google the brand name and find what it contains.
Okay.
Gliflozin. Any of those gliflozins. Canagliflozin, empagliflozin.
In India, I think 2-3 gliflozin is available.
All the gliflozin. It will end with gliflozin. As
let me check. I'll see if I'll dig out what you shared. So I remember you sending something like this.
Yeah. In fact, we had a discussion in one of the earlier.
वो CBC वाला इसमें ही किया था ना आपने शायद.
Yeah, उसमें किया था. So maybe we'll have, we can discuss once again later on.
I read your 3-4 study were posted on the forum about SGLT2. So I read about that. So I remember some of the lines of that. That's right.
So maybe we will have one different session on the similarities between SGLT2 inhibitor and ketogenic diet. That's the chart I have. Beautiful chart. Just show minus all the adverse effect.
Any other questions or anybody having?
None from my side as of now.
Fine. I think we can end. It is 1.5 hours now. Okay, so members, thank you very much. Thank you for attending again one more excellent session, and thank you very much, Arun Kumar, for sharing all your knowledge and clearing all the doubts. And I'm sure that members are benefiting. So we will have a few more discussion on this. Maybe one exclusive session on fatty liver, which many of us are keen to hear. And maybe in next few further down, we can have maybe we can have different presentation from different people. Anjali, you can also give presentation on a topic of your interest. Maybe Jasmeet can also share something on her experience with cancer. In one of the sessions, I will also share the history of low carb diet, ranging from how we have data right from 300 years back to how it is today. It will be interesting. So we will have different sessions. We have a lot of subjects to discuss. So once again, I thank all of us, all the members, and please do keep participating. Thank you very much.
Shashi, just maybe if you could,